talking Illinois high school football.
If your goals are as high as you talk about, tonight's the night you go out and just take one more step.
It's a view from the West.
And it starts right now!
Welcome to View from the West podcast, brought to you by Breedlove Sporting Goods, part of the River Rivals Media Network, the podcast covering high school football on the western side of the state of Illinois. I'm your host, Greg Armstrong, joined, as always, by Mitch Stormer. Mitch, I gotta say, before we get into everything here, man, week 5 got me jazzed up, man. It was a great night for me going out to Rock Ridge and Newman. And it was a great night in the Instant Reacts podcast. Like, I am just ready to go.
Yeah, that was, I don't know if that's the longest Instant Reacts we've had. It went over 2 hours. I know we've done that before. But it was such a fun night of, we try and elevate every week, right?
Yeah.
And I think at one time we had 9 different people either in the Instant Reacts or waiting in the Instant Reacts. So I think, did we cover every conference or just quite close to it? Certainly the first time we've ever had athletic directors on the show. So it was great. A fun night. It had high expectations from the games and the potential conference championships that could have come from this week. Certainly more to play out on that front. But yeah, it lived up to the hype. No question.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It was a fun night on the Instant Reacts podcast. We will talk about the results from last week briefly here on this show. But if you want the full look at everything that happened on Friday, that's where you go to the Instant Reacts. We were live, as always, on Friday night. Scores, live interviews with coaches and athletic directors. We had all the reactions. It's all the good stuff, everything you want from that Friday night episode. Those episodes only available on our YouTube channel. Head out to our YouTube channel. You can find the Instant Reacts podcast. Of course, once you're there, you got to subscribe. We're now up to 571. So the push for 750, Mitch, we're getting closer. We're getting there. We still got half a football season plus the playoffs. So I'm excited for the potential here.
Yeah, if anyone listening that hasn't subscribed, it's real easy. Just get on our YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. If you're going to be there anyway, you might as well subscribe to it.
Yeah, so let's go through the list. We had head coach Mike Morrissey from Moline on the show. We had, from the Three Rivers Athletic Conference, Jeremy Adolphson stopped at a gas station in Atkinson, Illinois with his team in the bus. He was live with Monmouth Roseville after their big win. You also had Sam Graves, the head coach of the Rock Ridge Rockets. We had Guy Derricks from Riverdale getting the win. We had Sean Downey from Stockton. They continue to roll along this season. As you mentioned, we had athletic directors on the show. Brock Baynert from Rock Ridge and Justin Stevenson from Newman had a little bet going in this game as to who'd be wearing the other team's jersey come school this week. And it was Justin Stevenson from Newman wearing the maroon of Rock Ridge. He put the bet out there. He put it on social media and he had to follow through with it. That's the way it goes.
Yep, it was fun having those guys on the show, and they just talked about how that's the type of thing that maybe isn't as present in the game anymore, and they're just trying to bring back that element of fun and community. So great to have those guys on the show, and good on them for agreeing to doing this, and good sport there, and Justin for rocking that Rock Ridge jersey.
Absolutely. And of course, the cast of characters, we had Matt Randazzo, we had Kyle Kampmeyer, Brian Stocking, the one and only. He was in true form on Friday night with Rock Ridge, with the Riverdale win there. He was right. He was fired up.
Yeah, as if he's never in true form, but yeah, he was fired up, and he agreed to a bet. He agreed to a bet on his own, so he'll either be shaving his head or doing a Hulkamania Riverdale shirt. So that'll be fun to see when the Rams make the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he ever agreed to it, but we collectively,
I think we all heard it. Yeah, we all heard it.
That's good. That's right. All right. Did I miss anything from the Instant Reacts? Like I said, it was jam packed. I think I remembered everybody that we had on there.
I sure hope you did, because that's all that I'm remembering too. So it was, like I said, at one time we had 9. So yeah. Big week, busy week. Thanks for everyone who joined in.
Did you see we had a comment on one of our live reacts? Someone commented their new favorite pastime is watching high school coaches try to navigate technology and get on the air live.
So funny. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. Coach Downey fell into the realm of Jake Nord And but he recovered. That's the important part. Is he recovered?
He did.
Was able to get on his phone and the audio works. So, yeah, that is the great part of the instant reacts is just seeing who's good at technology and who is not.
I did talk to Jade Nord yesterday. He apologized he couldn't make it on the show, but the open invite is still there. He knows it. So we're hoping to get the head coach of the Rebels on.
For the Rebels this week, he'll have a chance to come back.
Absolutely be talking about that. So anyway, that's a long-winded way of saying if you want to know what happened on Friday night, go back and listen to the Instant Reacts podcast, because tonight on this episode, we are focused on what's next and on what's left. Mitch, it's time to shine up the crystal ball. Let's see what the playoff future holds for teams in our area. I can't wait to get into it. This is a ton of fun to break it all down.
Yeah, this is always a great episode that we do every year. I can't remember if we did it last year going into week 6 or we did it going into week 7. I don't remember.
Yeah, yes, we did it. I know. I don't know when. We've shifted around. I think this is the sweet spot, though. 4 games left, I think, is really the sweet spot. So I'm excited.
Yeah, whatever week it was, like you said, it's fun we finally have enough kind of stats to back up how we think each team's schedule might play out by now. 5 weeks in, we have a good idea of who's who, so to speak. And so now we've got it all laid out. Each team, who they've got the next 4 weeks, we'll look at maybe who we think is going to run up a 9-0 record or an 8-1 record, or maybe who somebody's sitting at 2-3 that can sneak into the playoffs. It happened before. It happened with the Illini West last year. So who is this year's Illini West? I'm excited to look at and maybe pinpoint who we think could do it.
Yep, no doubt about it. All right, well, before we get into some of the results and the crystal ball, we start every episode with our viewpoints, brought to you by First Wealth Financial Group. Head to firstwealthfinancialgroup.com to get in touch with their team. For my viewpoint, I'm starting in the Lincoln Land Conference. It's all business in the LLC, and it's serious business in week 6. You have 2 undefeated matchups happening this week on both sides of the conference, in the large and the small side of things. You have Macomb and Farmington going against each other, and you have Stark County and Anawan Wethersfield. I feel like every week over the past few weeks, we've talked about all these teams are playing well, but their schedule's going to get hard. It's going to get more challenging. Here we are. The challenge is now here in week 6. I'm excited to talk about those games.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. For mine, we're going to get into this a little bit, but I want to talk about teams that have been battling all year, and maybe they're on the bubble and things don't look great maybe at times, but they keep putting in the work and the games get better and they see more wins coming in. And that's why, of course, I'm talking about the Cincinnati Reds. In that a month ago, they were 6 games back in the NL wild card and left for dead, fought their way through. They get to today where they were tied with the Mets. They just couldn't have the Mets win and the Reds lose. Reds lose, and the Marlins beat the Mets 4-0. Reds held the tiebreak. So they are the 12th and final team into the playoffs this year. Couldn't be more excited about that. So much so that yesterday I had bought playoff tickets off of the Reds website, thinking that they would be for the wild card series, not looking this up at all on my end, because as it turns out, the wild card series is a best of 3 series in LA. What I bought was game 3 of the NLDS in the event that the Reds host it after getting past the Dodgers. So now I will get a full refund if that game does not occur. But my hype for playoff baseball was quickly shattered as I realized I did not have tickets to the wild card series. I had tickets to the series after the wild card. But nonetheless, playoff baseball, Cincinnati Reds, we're hyped up over here.
I will say good luck to you, sir, because my baseball team is long since done. So you've insulted me already about the White Sox, so I don't want to get into it. We already did that on Dazzo's show. So
yeah.
Well, so good luck. I'm excited for you, and I hope that you go to a divisional series game when they upset the Dodgers.
Yeah, that'd be fun if I could use those tickets that I thought I was buying for this series, but Whatever.
Awesome. All right. Hey, Mitch's mentions. Who's helping you out on Friday night this week, Mitch?
Well, of course, we always have our standard cast of characters, but I'm gonna try and spread the wealth like I always try and do here. So, I want to give a quick shout out to Thermdog, providing updates from the Farmington game the past couple of weeks. So, big shout out there. Our guy Weather on the Go joined the Instant Reacts, but really sent in some very detailed stats regarding the Dixon Dukes, which we appreciate that, and just how dominant they've been, really since losing to Byron this year. And then our old friend of the show, Brett Elliott, the Stark County superintendent, always has the Stark County highlights on Friday nights. So love to see those. Every Friday, he's got the videos that he takes, I believe, himself and posts them on his account. And it's a big help, and we appreciate that.
Do you think Brett Elliott could help Jade Nord get onto our Instant Reacts podcast
you would
live?
Think. Yeah, you would think.
I'm
just being, to reach out.
Now I'm just being mean. I got to stop. But it was too good. It was sitting right there. But hey, yeah, long time listener of the show, Weather on the Go, did some serious research for Dixon. Yeah. He compiled the stats. It's a post replied to our Instant Reacts post on X. So if you want to go out and check out all of his notes, he listed them all out there in a post. We have some of the highlights of that in our show coming up. So shout out to him. And yeah, like you said, Brett Elliott always providing the video from Stark County, and Thermdog there from Farmington. All right, some exciting news coming from Breedloves, but tell us all about Breedloves, Mitch.
Yep. Tonight's episode is brought to you by our friends at Breedlove Sporting Goods, Western Illinois' premier sporting goods store for uniforms, apparel, equipment, awards, and online team stores. There's a spoiler. They provide all the same sporting goods services as the big nationwide companies, but with a faster turnaround, and their uniform pricing is a fraction of the cost you're probably used to. They offer name brands such as Adidas, Under Armour, and Nike, and are extremely responsive with any inquiries. With a primary focus on the western side of the state of Illinois, Breedlove Sporting Goods is the fastest way to outfit your team. Check them out on Facebook or at breedlovesports.com.
Yes, exciting stuff here. The Breedlove's View from the West online store is back up and running again. It's ready to roll. We sent out a couple posts on X over the weekend, so go out, find that link. We'll make sure it's the pin post when you listen to this. You can go out there and find it. Some exciting additions here. The retro helmet, the old school Tecmo Bowl inspired shirts. We've added a couple teams, and yep, there you go. Hey, I'm actually wearing mine too. How about that?
Look at us. Look at us.
We've added a couple of teams there. Riverdale's been added to the mix. Bureau Valley's been added to the mix. Elmwood, Brimfield.
There's some new styles too. I've seen a couple of different hoodie options now in this go around too. I think there's like a camo hoodie that I did see. So there are some new articles of clothing as well.
And I will say, if you're a team, if you go search and you can't find your team, let us know. Send us a message. Send us an email, viewfromwestpod@gmail.com, or just send us a DM, a direct message on X. Whatever team you support, if we don't have it, we could try to make it happen. Maybe not this current shop, but a shop down the road. We're all ears. If you want something, we'll try to make it happen for you. So let us know. But really exciting stuff. And Mitch, have you seen the Olympic conference gear that we got now?
Did see that. It seems to be going over really well with some of those previous members of the Olympic conference.
Yeah, so the old school Olympic conference, the joke is always, I still call it the Olympic. We had that shirt last year. We still have that shirt as an option, but a lot of people nostalgic for the old Olympic conference. So we got the Tecmo Bowl inspired retro helmets all stacked up with the old Olympic alignment there, saying Olympic conference across the middle of whether it's a t-shirt or a hoodie. It's really cool. I'm really excited for that one. I think a lot of people, they remember those 90s, teams from the Olympic conference and the success they had. So I hope that one goes over well. Go find the link out there on X and make sure you purchase. Store closes on October 8th. So get your orders in. They'll be there in time for the playoffs. We're really excited for that. So, all right, Mitch, all the talking, at least all the pre-talking is done. Now we get into the real, nuts and bolts of things here. Are we ready to jump into the Western Big Six?
Let's do it.
All right, well, let me pull up the scoreboard, Mitch. You can read us through the finals from Friday night, give us a little bit of the details, and then it's time. Then it's time to get into the crystal ball and see what things look like. So here we go, Mitch. Give us the look of the Friday night from the Western Big Six.
Yeah, looking back at week 5 here, Geneseo got the 36-33 win over United Township. United Township led 21-7 in this. Geneseo then went on a run of 21 unanswered. UT then scored 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter to go ahead, but it was Geneseo that scored one final time with 22 seconds left to get the big win for Geneseo. You had Moline. Speaking of big wins, Moline defeats Quincy 39-0 to take solo possession of the top spot in the Western Big Six. This is a big night for Mark Carey. 2 first-half touchdowns en route to 229 yards on the ground. Nolan Ducey had a 29-yard field goal. Maroons blocked a punt for a safety and forced 4 turnovers in the second half. And that, of course, breaks Quincy's 17-game Western Big Six win streak. You had Sterling getting the big win over Galesburg, 48-0. Quarterback Brady Berlin was 9-12 for 129 yards and 2 scores. And you had Rock Island defeating Alleman 51-0. Miles Duster threw 3 touchdown passes, totaling 206 yards on 11 completions there in that win for Rocky.
Yeah, a few things I wanted to circle back on, Mitch. First of all, most important of the information we're going to give out tonight, the Alleman player that was hurt at the end of that game. It sounds like things are trending in the right direction. That player was released from the hospital, according to a post put out by Alleman High School. So first of all, our thoughts to Alleman High School and that family and that player involved in, what sounded like a scary injury out there, and, hoping for the best for him moving forward. That was great news to start.
Yeah, absolutely. That game was called, I think, in the third quarter due to that injury. So we hate that. We hate to see that. But again, great news coming out of that story, and we wish him a full recovery.
Yep. A few other notes here from the Western Big Six. Mitch, I think we got to give a shout out to Geneseo getting the win the way they did. I think the way that game played out, kind of a crazy finish to that one. That's our game of the week. We're going to stick in the Western Big Six and get first game we talk about. That's our game of the week. What a performance from Geneseo, a heartbreaker from United Township. But man, that's what it's all about in the Western Big Six. That is exciting. That is an exciting football game. So our View from the West game of the week, sponsored by Nate Neighbor of Modern Woodmen of America. From protection to saving to retirement, contact Nate Neighbor today to put together your financial game plan. He's a call away at 309-233-2656. Modern Woodmen, touching lives, securing future. And as you mentioned, a huge road win from Moline, 39-0. Impressive performance by the Maroons, but there was one player that caught my eye a few weeks ago, if you remember, on this show, and man, he did it again. What a performance here. Give us the details on Mark Carey.
Mark Carey had 2 first-half touchdowns that really set the tone for this Moline team, and in this game, en route to 229 yards and 2 touchdowns on 22 carries there for Mark Carey.
That means Mark Carey has got a helmet. He's got the Breedlove's Player of the Week award and the package that comes with it on his way. So congratulations, Mark Carey. He is our Breedlove's Player of the Week for week number 5.
Yeah, a great performance in a big game for the Maroons. Carey has had such a great start to the season so far, and fully anticipate performances like this to continue the rest of the way. So again, congratulations to Mark Carey, our Breedlove's Player of the Week for week 5. And as Greg mentioned, we'll get that package complete with all sorts of goodies out to you, most likely to the school. We'll coordinate that with Coach Morrissey and make sure we get it over to you.
All right, so here we go. Let's get into week 6 and then look ahead into the crystal ball. Week 6 looks like this. Quincy at United Township, Geneseo at Galesburg, Rock Island at Moline, and Alleman at Sterling. So that's week 6. But I think big picture time. Let's pull up the crystal ball and see what things look like here. So there we go. Here's the crystal ball. Mitch, I guess as you look through it, I should mention, for people listening to this show, if you want to get the full effect here, we have the graphic laid out with everybody's upcoming opponents for the next 4 weeks. So it kind of helps follow along a little bit. If you're listening, you can follow along on our YouTube channel and get the full effect here. But Mitch, where do you want to start here in the Western Big Six?
I would say let's start at the top. Let's start with the team that is now sitting so low there in the number 1 spot. That's Moline. They're 4-1. And looking at what they've got left, they've got Rocky, Alleman, United Township, and Galesburg. The way that they've been playing, I look at these 4 games, and I think Moline finishes 4-0. I think they will close this season out on an 8-game win streak and head into the 7A playoffs and potentially have a home game.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I think the only hiccup in there might be United Township. Obviously, we've talked about they've had 2 heartbreaking games in back-to-back weeks, but that's the team with the talent to do it. They got a couple weeks to get themselves right, to get set up for that matchup in week 8. But I would agree with you. I think this schedule, they've made it through the hardest part of their schedule, and they sit with 4-1 record.
I think their style of play on offense, just being that ground, that ground control, clock control, run first offense is going to put them in a position to win these 4 games. But most importantly, and especially after the performance they put on this week against Quincy, where they held them to like 165 yards or whatever it was, Moline's defense is just playing incredible football. And even with UT's tools, that again, they can do it. UT is a talented group on offense, but Moline's defense has been a bright star that I don't think gets enough credit. And I think, again, with their offense and with how well their defense is playing, I do believe they're going to finish out this season at 4-0.
Yeah. Well, then we get into a whole bunch of 3-2 teams all bunched up right here together, and something's got to give. So we'll start with Quincy. They're 3-2. They got UT, Galesburg, Sterling, and Geneseo. I'll be honest, as we start looking through some of these matchups, there's some games that are really hard to predict.
Yeah, they are. And if Quincy would have put up any sort of fight against Moline, I think that this would be easier to predict, but they didn't, and that all of a sudden throws a wrench into things.
Yep. Well,
can UT get it right this week? I do believe they'll beat Galesburg in week 6 or week 7. I'm sorry, but the way Sterling and Geneseo have been playing, this is the hardest one, I think, of the conference. I'm gonna say Quincy goes 2-2.
Yeah.
In this final stretch,
Yep, that sounds right. Yeah,
I don't know that I want to predict where the win's going to come, because I think it'll be one of those things that it's just kind of like the Sterling UT game. Like, we may not expect it, and it comes out of nowhere. So that could happen in any one of these next 4 weeks. But any way I look at it, I can see them winning 2 games. I can see them losing 2 games. I just don't want to pinpoint where that might occur.
Yeah. We talked about this Quincy and United Township matchup is interesting in week 6 because both teams coming off of tough losses. On the flip side, look at Sterling and what they're doing. They have Alleman this week, and then it's Geneseo and Quincy in back-to-back weeks. Like, this Sterling, I said last week on the show, I wanted to see them come out. If they're going to be a team that I consider down the way winning some games, I want to see them dominate Galesburg, and they did. So that gives me a little pause there to say, okay, you dominated Galesburg, you got the win at United Township the way they did. Have they figured it out? Like, are they a team down the way? Alleman, Geneseo, Quincy, and Rocky left. So I think they win at least 2 of those. and potentially there's a chance they win all 4 of them.
I'm going to say 3-1.
3-1 sounds safe. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they'll get the win this week at Alleman. I think that Sterling Geneseo game in week 7 will be really good. Again, what's Quincy going to look like by week 8? And then I think they'll get the Rocky win in week 9. So it's certainly 2. And I think they get 1 if it's Geneseo or Quincy. So I'm going to say 3-1.
Sterling is at home against Quincy, and that's the longest road trip in the Western Big Six. So I think it is significant to bring that up, that it will be Quincy making the road trip for that one in week 8. So, all right. And as we keep going down the way, we've talked a little bit about Geneseo and United Township. Those are the 2 3-2 teams left here. Geneseo has Galesburg, Sterling, Alleman, Quincy. So again, feels like 2 wins at least. Then that Sterling game becomes a question mark. And I think that Quincy game in week 9 is going to be critical.
Yeah, I think so too. So I think by then they will have wrapped up a playoff spot. I think they'll be 5-3 heading into week 9.
Yep. It's just so hard to predict these games, man.
I'm going to say Geneseo goes 3-1.
Okay. Yep.
I think that feels.
They're gonna lose to either Sterling or Quincy.
Listen, we're not. If I say that Sterling's going to go 3-1, and I'm not, saying where they're going to lose, that means I'm not factoring that into anything else.
I know.
So,
yeah.
They're not both going to go 3-1. I don't think. I'm gonna stick to it. I'm gonna stick to Geneseo finishes out 3-1 and gets to 6-3 on the year.
Yeah. So I guess United Township, Quincy, Rocky, Moline, Alleman. So there's 2 wins. I think they get to 5. I think they have the playoffs, firmly in mind here.
I think this is a 2-2 finish to the year, and that's just. I'm sure that's disappointing from UT's camp, from the expectations that they had this year. And it won't surprise me if they win all 4 either. I just, you coming off a back-to-back, gut-wrenching losses. Offense is still playing well. They didn't in the second half of the Sterling game, but they certainly played well late, all game, and especially late against Geneseo. And then the Leafs just got one there at the end. But they've got a passing offense coming in, or at Quincy. I'm not sure where that game is at. They've got I guess it's at the Soul Bowl. So they've got a passing offense coming in off of a Quincy team that's probably angry. And then you've got Moline sitting there in week 8. So I'm comfortable at saying that it's going to be a 2-2, but we'll be talking about UT as a playoff team for sure.
Yep. I think overall, as we've laid it all out, I think I agree with what you're saying as far as your predictions. We feel best about Sterling and Geneseo as far as those 3-2 teams. Sorry, Moline, I think we're going to see them go 4-0. Then I feel best about, in the group of 3-2s, I feel best about Sterling and Geneseo moving down the way.
Yeah, I think I agree with you on that.
Yep. Galesburg sitting at 2-3, but I think as we've talked through everything here, I think they could get a win against Rock Island, which would put them to 3 wins. I don't know if I wanted to see more from Galesburg against Sterling to really maybe think that they could pull off another victory or 2 down the way. I didn't see enough in that game. I think Galesburg is going to end up with 3 wins this season.
I think they finish out 1-3 on this slate. That would be the Rocky game. I think Galesburg has shown that they can win ball games. They certainly can. Didn't fare that well this week against a good Sterling team. But I think they'll get things right after playing, especially after coming off 2 more big games against Geneseo and Quincy. I think they might be able to find some success in that Rocky game before finishing off with Moline in week 9. So yeah, I'll say that they'll get one more win there.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked all year about how much parity there is in the Three Rivers Rock division, But man, you talk about parity in the Western Big Six. This is one of the harder like crystal ball segments I remember doing in recent memory.
Yeah.
Because it's really hard to predict some of these games down the way here.
Yeah. The past couple of years, we've been fortunate to have Quincy, and it's like, they're going to be 4-0.
Yeah.
And now that it's kind of bunching up there between the second, third, and fourth and fifth place teams, I think you're right. We could have predicted this correctly. We could be completely off, and we'll see how it plays out. That's the fun part about crystal ball and this stuff. But yeah, this has been a fun conference to watch play out. I do believe that it will end with Moline on top now that they have gotten past Quincy, and how UT has kind of taken a couple of setbacks here. But how the rest of that conference finishes out, I think there's going to be some shuffling here in the next 4 weeks.
Yeah, no doubt about it. We were hoping that the parity this year would lead to a fun season of Western Big Six football, and I think we've absolutely gotten that, and we're going to continue to get it. So that's a lot of fun. So there is your crystal ball for the Western Big Six. I don't know if we answered a whole lot of questions, but we tried. We gave it our best shot.
There might be we might have provided some bulletin board material, but that's, as history has shown us, that's what we do on this show.
Yeah, if we did, that's fine. And let us hear about it. That means you're listening. So all right. Well, there you go. Mitch, should we get into the Three Rivers Athletic Conference? We'll talk about what happened on Friday night, and then we'll get into the crystal ball. We'll divide it up between the Mississippi and the Rock side of things. Of course, our coverage of the Three Rivers Athletic Conference brought to you by Simulation Sports in Monmouth, Illinois. Visit thesimulationsports.com to book your golf or batting cage time today.
Okay, so in the Mississippi, big game of the night, you had Monmouth-Roseville defeating Princeton 36-8. This was a dominant performance by Monmouth-Roseville, really in every phase of the game. Nick Houston, 19 carries for 157 yards and 2 touchdowns. Landon Montroy, 24 rushes for 127 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Lars Berggren had 9 rushes for 58 yards and a touchdown. So great win there for Monmouth-Roseville as they can take control of the Mississippi. You had Mendota snapping a 16-game losing streak, so congratulations to head coach Jim Eustace there on getting the big win. They've been playing good this year. They played Newman tough, so good to see Mendota finally getting that first win of the season. Corbin Farrar had a pair of touchdowns in the win, including the game winner as they trailed in this one. So congrats again to Mendota. And you get Spring Valley Hall getting the 44-0 win over Kewanee. Aiden Redcliffe had rushed for 174 yards, 3 touchdowns, and had a fumble recovery on defense.
So there you go. There's our look at the Three Rivers Athletic Conference from Week 5. You know that Scott from Simulation Sports is loving that Monmouth-Roseville result. He's a big fan of the Titans for the second year in a row. They get the impressive win, this time on the road at Princeton. Yep. So that sets us up for Week 6. It's Kewanee at Mendota, Monmouth-Roseville at Sherrard, Princeton at Spring Valley Hall. So let's pull up the crystal ball for the Mississippi side of things, and let's see how it looks. So you got Monmouth-Roseville sitting at 5-0. They got Sherrard, Hall, Rock Ridge, and Newman left. So I think the next 2 weeks, they should get the job done. They'll be sitting at 7-0. But man, they got 2 tough crossover games. If you remember last year, they lost at home to Rock Ridge and then bounced back and got the win on the road at Newman. But man, that's a challenging way to end your regular season for sure.
First and foremost, yeah, I do believe that they will get the wins next 2 weeks. Hall's been playing great. But the way that Monmouth-Roseville really put in a performance there against Princeton, I believe they'll finish in the Mississippi undefeated, and they'll be the back-to-back Mississippi champions. And then it gets to those last 2 weeks of the crossover games where it's got Rock Ridge and then Newman. Picked against Rock Ridge this week. I know. And they won. Now the question becomes is who's the best team in the track on either side? And I have not seen a reason yet to believe that that's not Monmouth-Roseville. I think Monmouth-Roseville finishes undefeated. I really do. I think they'll be 9-0.
Yep. I thought I was going to make the bulletin board material there, but you beat me to it. I agree. I think the way they're playing right now and the way that they win football games, the way they're so physical up front and the way that they've kind of stepped up to that challenge. And, Jeremy Adolphson talked about it on the Instant Reacts podcast that his players take pride in being the most physical on the field. I think that is something that gives them a huge advantage. I will say, yep, they run the table here. They get the job done. They'll be getting into the playoffs at 9-0. So, all right, let's talk about Spring Valley Hall, because I think that in kind of the mix of Monmouth Roseville and Princeton, they're kind of sneaking up here, and, they're sitting at 3-2. Let's look at what they have left, because it is kind of a tough slate the rest of the way. Princeton, Monmouth Roseville, Riverdale, and Rock Ridge. So the two toughest teams left in the Mississippi side, plus Riverdale and Rock Ridge, who looks to be the best team on the Rock side of things. So sitting at 3-2, but it's a tough slate here.
Yeah, their last 3 games have been Kewanee, Sherrard, and Mendota.
Correct.
So they're winning games, and that's terrific. Do they have one win in there?
I was wondering what you were gonna say. I
think their biggest chance, their best chance is Riverdale. That game will be a pretty high bar. That's a pretty high bar the way Riverdale's been playing.
Yes, that game will be at Riverdale, by the way, too. So they'll be on the road in that one. I
think this was a great year.
Yep.
For Hall has been a great year, I should say, under a first-year head coach. They are taking the step in the right direction and playing well, but this season with what they have left, and you can see it on the screen, or if you're not, as mentioned, it's Princeton, Monmouth Roseville, Riverdale, and Rock Ridge, 2 of the best teams in the Mississippi and 2 of the best teams in the Rock. At best, I believe that's 1-3.
Yeah.
I'm going to be the bearer of bad news. I don't know that they get one the rest of the way out.
Yeah, I hate to say it, because we like to focus on the positive here, Mitch, on the View from the West podcast, but in the Crystal Ball episode, there's some harsh reality in the kind of the way their schedule shaped up, and I think they took advantage. They got the wins where they were on the schedule.
And that's a tough spot to be in if you're Hall, the way that schedule kind of shakes out for them.
Yeah.
You get these winnable games in the middle, and then they've won three straight, right?
Yes, they have. Yep. But again, it's against.
Here comes Princeton and Monroe's right next, coming up to you the next couple of weeks. So I again hate to be the bearer of bad news. I think they're going to finish at 3-6.
Yep. So, and again, hey, if it's bulletin board material and Hall proves us wrong, well, let us know. Let us know.
Please do it.
So, all right, Princeton. Surprising to see 2-3 record by their name. Just flat out surprising, to see that in general. They have Hall, Mendota, Mercer County, and Erie Prophetstown. So we already said that we thought Monmouth Roseville could run the table. We think Hall could be on the opposite side, going 0-4. I think we're back up on the opposite end. I think Princeton goes 4-0 here.
I think so too. Again, Hall is probably the hardest of the 4. EP will put up a fight in week 9. But I'm with you. I think Princeton finds the momentum, wins 4 in a row, and has a little bit of juice going into the 3A playoffs.
Yep. One more. I wanted to bring in Mendota here. They get the win, so they're sitting at 1-4.
Yep.
Looking at what they have left, Kewanee, Princeton, Erie Prophetstown, and Mercer County. I think if things went absolutely perfect, if they played great football the rest of the way, I think they could get 3 wins. But
3?
I think, I'm saying, if everything goes perfectly, that they could get 3. I don't see how they get past Princeton, though. I don't see that one happening.
No. Yeah, I don't think so. And I think Erie Prophetstown is probably the better of the 2 teams there. So I think there's 2 here. Kewanee's having just a real bad year, and I feel bad for that program. But Mendota with some momentum. I think they'll get the win there. I think they will beat Mercer County in week 9. So I'll say Mendota gets the 2-2. And what it again, if you finish the season at 3-6, doesn't look good on paper, but that's a really good first season under Coach Eustace.
Yeah. I think 2-2 is realistic. I was pointing out that if we're crystal balling it and getting optimistic on somebody, if the ball bounced perfect for them, maybe they could fight through a win and get that one at Erie Prophetstown. But I would agree. I think 2-2 is realistic here. They fall to Princeton and Erie Prophetstown. They get the wins over Kewanee and Mercer County. So there you go. Anything else, Mitch, in the track, in the Mississippi side of things? Because now it's about to get real hard again when we get into the Three Rivers Rock Division.
Yeah, let's move past this real quick and get to some harder stuff here.
All right, so let's flip to the scoreboard, back to the scoreboard for the Rock Division. Give us the results and how they played out on Friday night, Mitch.
Yeah, big one of the night. You had Rock Ridge defeating Newman 26-6. Great second half performance for the Rockets. Colin Schweigen, 3 touchdowns, 2 passing, and 1 rush. Again, as the Rockets shut out the Comets there in the second half and take control of the Rock Division. Certainly check out those highlights that our man Greg here shot. They're on our X feed. They're on our YouTube. Just you called it the best shot of your career. I have seen a lot of your highlights, and I tend to agree. I don't remember them all, but you would remember them better than I would. So I'll take your word for it. It's a great highlight, great shot, a videographer's dream there. Not only to get the highlight, Greg, to maybe get a special something in the background on one of those shots too.
How about an unintentional viral moment that we kind of created there with our man Xander with the dance moves? He's wearing I don't know if it's a Chiefs jersey or it's a red jersey in the end zone.
And I thought it was a Mahomes jersey.
Yeah, and he's into it, man. He is feeling it. He is loving the Rockets scoring that huge touchdown before the half. And so Z-Man, as they call him, he was pumped up. He was fired up. You got to be fired up if you're standing right next to Chase Schweigen in the end zone. He's going to get you juiced.
Who wouldn't be? So we always like getting those crowd shots. I remember doing, kind of scoping things out when we worked at the highlight zone to make sure we get some good crowd shots. And you just were sitting right in front of them right there on that one.
I'm telling you, when Cullen Schweigen punched in that touchdown, and it was youth night, so all the football players, the grade school football players, were down on the track. The band was down in that end. The student section's down there. That end zone is loaded with parents and with people watching. When he punched it in to give them the lead, their first lead of the game, it was loud down there, and it just felt like a playoff atmosphere. It was a huge game, and I know it ended up being a 20-point difference, but it still felt like a great football game because, it was 0-0 at the end of one quarter. Newman and Rock Ridge played
7-6 a half.
Yeah, both teams played such high-end football. I mean, offensively for Rock Ridge, you really saw it, but on defense, both teams played phenomenal. Rock Ridge had a few more plays, right? They made a few more plays, and that was the difference. But, man, I just give credit to both teams. I think they're both very good. They're both very well coached. It felt like a big-time game. It was a big-time game. And, yeah, I tell you what, it was one of those nights where it felt like every play was coming right towards my camera lens, and that, you got to love it. It was great.
All right. You also had Riverdale defeating Orion 42-28. The Rams rack up 401 yards on the ground. Unofficial stats, these from Coach Dierks, I think from the instant reacts that Kane Beckett and Gage Heinsohn had 177 yards each. Kane Beckett had 4 touchdowns in this one. So a great win for the Rams. And you had Erie Prophetstown defeating Mercer County 43-15. Keegan Winkler, 172 yards and 3 touchdowns. Gavin Adams had 2 touchdown receptions.
Mitch, how about the Rams going for just over 400 yards rushing?
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. Now, do you think the boys up front, do you think the Riverdale Rams offensive line likes Godfather's Pizza and Silvis?
I would imagine they've been to Godfather's Pizza and Silvis before, and we're going to be talking about what they've got left here the next 4 weeks. What if we field them up a little bit here, Greg?
I think absolutely. I think the Riverdale Rams, they are our Godfather's Pizza and Silvis offensive line of the week. Those guys up front leading the way for Beckett and Heinsohn have 2 large one-topping pizzas coming their way, thanks to our friends Andy at Godfather's Pizza and Silvis. So we'll make sure to connect with Guy Derrickson, get him the coupon, and maybe it's a little road trip from Port Byron into Silvis to grab those pizzas before the season wraps up.
That's an easy road trip. You kidding me?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So congratulations to them, the Riverdale Rams. They're flying high right now. Well, look at what they got coming now down the way here in the crystal ball. And here we are. We'll start with Rock Ridge up top of the conference. They're 5-0 right now. They have Orion, Mercer County, Monmouth Roseville, and Hall left. Now, Mitch, if you remember, we just said that Monmouth Roseville is going to run the table. So where does that leave us here looking at the rest of the rest of Rock Ridge's schedule?
Yeah, I think there are 3 very winnable games there. I think Rock Ridge will finish 3-1 with that lone hiccup to Monmouth Roseville. They're going to be the Rock champions, and I believe they will go into the 2A playoffs sitting at 8-1.
So there you go. I didn't name them all out, but they have Orion, Mercer County, Monmouth Roseville, and Hall left on their schedule. So that's what's left for Rock Ridge, and I would tend to agree. I think that's the way that's going to play out. Newman, now sitting at 4-1. They have Mercer County, Riverdale, Kewanee, and Monmouth Roseville. This one's interesting. I think that there's 2 wins in there. You get them over Mercer County and Kewanee. What do you think about Riverdale and Monmouth Roseville here?
I think that since Riverdale doesn't pose a huge passing threat, I think that'll fall into the favor of Newman's defense.
Okay.
So I do think Newman gets that win. So I also think Newman finishes out at 3-1, and they'll be 7-2 heading into what we think would be the 1A playoffs.
That'd be a dangerous 7-2 team there if they fall into that 1A North bracket for sure. So, yep, I would agree. I think that's the way that one would play out as well. All right, so Riverdale at 4-1 as well. They have Erie Prophetstown, Newman, Hall, and Sherrard left. So, Mitch, I'll let you start.
Okay. You're going to sense a theme here, Greg, because I think the Rams go 3-1 too. I think that they will get past EP here in week 6. As I just mentioned, I think Newman wins that week 7 game, and then I think Riverdale will take care of Hall and Sherrard. So I also think that Riverdale will be 3-1 and going into the 1A playoffs at 7-2.
All right, there you go. So we just mentioned briefly Erie Prophetstown. They're 3-2. They have Riverdale, Orion, Mendota, and Princeton left. So I would agree with you. I think Riverdale will get the job done. But I think Erie Prophetstown, man, that Erie Prophetstown Orion game becomes really interesting here because I think that Erie Prophetstown gets the win against Mendota. And I think that they will fall to Princeton. So that leaves that Orion game in there. And I don't know. That's a tough one to call.
Yeah, and we know EP's defense has been playing well. And I think we've seen the past couple of weeks of Orion's offense not really been able to get on track when they play a good defense like that. I'm going to say EP gets to 5-4. I think they go 2-2 here.
Okay.
I think they will lose on the bookends of this 4-week stretch to Riverdale and to Princeton, but I do believe they'll win against Orion and Mendota and get to 5-4 and get into presumably get into the playoffs.
Yeah. Well, on the flip side, when you're looking at Orion, they're sitting at 2-3 right now with Rock Ridge, Erie Prophetstown, Sherrard, and Kewanee. I think they can get wins over Sherrard and Kewanee, or we should expect them to be favored in those 2 games. So that puts them at 4 wins. Mitch, I think they're going to be the big underdog against Rock Ridge this week. That leaves that Erie Prophetstown game. I think everything is on the line in week 7 for Orion.
No, I think I think for both teams, I think that's a good call because you flip that the other way and Orion becomes the playoff team and EP does not. So I think that's a good call. I personally think EP wins that, but wouldn't be surprised either if Orion can pull that off and win 3 straight to end the year.
Yeah.
But for the sake of this show, I'm going to say they go 2-2 and just miss out on a playoff spot.
I'm gonna go opposite. I'm gonna say Orion gets that win. Yep. I'm gonna say Orion wins their last 3, and they get into the playoffs at that 5-4 record.
Okay, so that means you don't think Erie Prophetstown will get in.
Then they would, let's see, then they would have No, I think they get one more win in that stretch. Yeah, you're right. Yep.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think you're right. I think that week 7 game between Orion and EP will determine who between those two teams gets in.
Yep. And here we go again. If we're wrong, hey, let us know. That's
No, so we'll be let known. Don't worry about that.
yeah. I thought you were gonna say, "Oh, we'll be wrong." That's for sure.
We will also be wrong, and we'll be told how wrong we are.
Yes. There you go. We're putting ourselves out there, right?
Yeah.
All right. So we listed every team in this conference here because I just think the parity has been so good this season. Mercer County has struggled this season. They're at 1-4. Newman, Rock Ridge, Princeton, and Mendota left. I think the clock is running out for Mercer County. I think the schedule is too backloaded. I don't see any way. They'd have too much work to make up here.
Yeah, I think those winnable games have already been played. Those are 4 pretty good teams, 3 really good teams, and a Mendota team that's been playing well. That we think Mendota is going to finish out 2-2. We just mentioned. So I was counting this Mercer County game as one of their wins. So yeah, it looked tough year for Merco. But I just don't see where they win in these 4 weeks.
Yep. All right. So just as a little reminder, looking back in the Rock division this week in week 6, Mercer County on the road at Newman Saturday at 1:00, Orion at Rock Ridge, Riverdale at Erie Prophetstown. And then on the opposite side on the Mississippi, you have Kewanee at Mendota, Monmouth Roseville at Sherrard, Princeton at Spring Valley Hall. So there you go. There's the crystal ball, the look ahead at the Three Rivers Athletic Conference. That Rock side of things, Mitch, we talked it up, a lot, and it's played out. It's going to be a ton of fun. I think, again, that Erie Prophetstown Orion game will be kind of like the capstone of what has been a great season here.
No, I completely agree with you. Kind of like what we're talking about in the Western Big Six. I believe there's going to be some shuffling a little bit, but I do believe that Rock Ridge will remain on top of that division, and I believe that Monmouth Roseville will remain on top of theirs as well.
Yep. Let's take a quick break, and then we'll get into the Big Northern Conference. This episode of View from the West podcast is brought to you by Simulation Sports. In addition to golf simulators and batting cages, Simulation Sports provides golf club repair, custom fittings for driver shafts, and even private lessons for golf, baseball, and softball. Whether you're looking for a fun group activity or want to fine-tune your skills and equipment, Simulation Sports has something for everyone. Visit their facility at 400 South Main Street in Monmouth, Illinois, or go to thesimulationsports.com to start playing today.
At Modern Woodmen of America, service is about more than our members. It's about our community, too. We share values that include personal financial security and helping friends and neighbors in need. We're your partner helping you protect your future, and together we're making an impact here in our local communities. I'm Nate Neighbor. Find me on the Modern Woodmen of America website.
Get to know your local Modern Woodmen representative to plan for your financial future and learn about valuable member benefits. Modern Woodmen of America. Touching lives, securing futures. Securities offered through MWA Financial Services, Inc., a wholly owned subsidiary of Modern Woodmen of America.
The View from the West Player of the Week is brought to you by Breedlove Sporting Goods, Western Illinois' premier sporting goods store for uniforms, apparel, equipment, awards, and online team stores. They offer name brands such as Adidas, Under Armour, and Nike, and are extremely responsive with any inquiries. With a primary focus on the western side of the state of Illinois, Breedlove Sporting Goods is the fastest way to outfit your team. You can check them out on Facebook or at breedlovesports.com.
When it comes to quality, convenient pizza, Godfather's Pizza in Silvis has you covered. Featuring a beautiful dine-in area, delivery, and a carry-out window. Godfather's Pizza is that pizza you grew up with, not a convenience store. You see, at Godfather's Pizza, the dough is made fresh daily. That mozzarella cheese is shredded fresh and never frozen. And those toppings are abundantly piled high each and every time. Locally owned and operated since 2010, Godfather's is a huge supporter of local athletes right here in the Quad Cities. So come on by and check them out at 1211 Avenue of the Cities in Silvis. Order online at godfathers.com and reunite with that same delicious pizza you grew up with.
Welcome back to the show. Let's get into the Big Northern Conference. Of course, our coverage of the Big Northern brought to you by Byron Wealth Management. Stop by, talk to Sean. You can talk financials or football. Maybe you could even talk about the crystal ball for the Big Northern Conference. He probably loves to talk about Byron right now because, hey, they're looking really good and they're in control of the Big Northern Conference. Let's pull up the scoreboard and get through the results from Friday night.
All right, week 5 in the Big Northern Conference. You had Byron continuing to roll a 55-7 win over Winnebago. How about those Dixon Dukes? 56-0 over Oregon. Some of the our friend Weather on the Go sent us a delightful amount of stats on Dixon. The two that I want to just pull out for the sake of this quick conversation, they have outscored opponents 174-0 since losing to Byron, and they've posted three straight shutouts. In this one against Oregon, against a good Oregon team, Landon Carnegie, 4 touchdowns, and again, 56-0 there.
Yeah.
You had Genoa Kingston getting a nice win over North Boone, 56-38. This game was wild. There was a stretch of 2 minutes where there was 4 touchdowns in this one. They were going back and forth before Genoa Kingston really started taking control in the second half and pulling away. So congrats to the Cogs on a nice win. Owen Zakard had 3 touchdown runs in that one. Stillman Valley got the 42-6 win over Rock Falls. So the Cardinals now moved to 3-1 in the Big Northern. And then you had Rockford Lutheran falling to Dakota of the NUIC. That was a 58-36 win for Dakota.
So there you go. There's the look at what happened in week 5. Again, as a reminder, if you want kind of a little more info or kind of our reaction to what happened in week 5, go check out the Instant Reacts podcast. We were live Friday night at 10:15 like we are every week. That's available only on our YouTube channel. It's out there right now. Week 6 in the Big Northern, Genoa Kingston at Rockford Lutheran. You have Oregon at North Boone, Rock Falls at Winnebago, Stillman Valley at Dixon, and the big, interesting non-conference matchup here, Byron at Dupec. So, man, that is a loaded non-conference game there. Credit to both teams for scheduling that one. I'm excited for that one to be just a regular rotation conference game next year, knowing we're going to get it year in and year out.
Right. Well, and this year, too, it could be a preview of a playoff game, too. They've been in the playoffs before. They'll both be in 3A North, so could be a prediction of things to come. But the way that both of those teams have been playing with similar styles, that should be fun.
So here we go. A look at the crystal ball for the Big Northern Conference. We got to start up top with Byron. They're 5-0. We talked about their matchup with Dupec. Then they have Genoa Kingston, Rockford Lutheran, and North Boone. I think the way they've been playing, it's by no means a stretch to say they're going to be undefeated at the end of the regular season. Can Dupec pose a threat? Can Dupec, pull an upset there?
I don't believe so.
Yeah.
I have been so impressed with Dupec. I really have been. And I just go back to what Byron looked like against Dixon. And I would probably put Dixon as a better team than Dupec too.
Okay.
Which again is no shot at the Rivermen because we're huge fans of that program, have been for a while. It's just we're talking about Byron, and that I would say that against all but maybe one team in 3A. The exception of maybe IC Catholic. Even then, I would probably pick Byron, obviously. So, no, I think Byron finishes 4-0. I think they'll be 9-0, and they will win this conference.
Yep. All right, let's keep moving along the way here. Dixon, who outside of one loss to Byron, they still kept it reasonably close in that game, but they're 4-1. They have Stillman Valley, Winnebago, Streeter, and Genoa Kingston. I think there's a good shot that they run the table here.
You want to think about Streeter, but
they're not. I don't think they're very good.
Well, there you go. I think I'm not going to remember the stats correctly. I think I think Dixon is averaging something like 47 points a game, 3 straight shutouts. They've scored 174 in the last 3 weeks. Jagger Kemp, Landon Carnegie, that whole team. I think they're just a tremendous group. I think they will finish 4-0 here as well. I don't have any doubt about that. Stillman Valley's been playing well as of late, but Dixon is just on another level.
Yep. All right. So I think that kind of is as expected up top. Now I think is where the challenge comes in.
Now it gets a little
Now it gets a little trickier. Now you got to really start paying attention to who you pick as we go along. So Oregon at 3-2, and I believe their 2 losses are to Dixon and to Byron. So Now Byron was 35-7. Dixon, they just lost to 56-0. So I was hoping, maybe we'd see a little more out of Oregon in this one. Either way, they're 3-2 right now. They got North Boone, Stillman Valley, Winnebago, and Dwight left. So their non-conference is the last week of the regular season. I'm going to say they get at least, do they get 3 of these? And the question is, can they get all 4 if they beat Stillman Valley? I think they get North Boone this week. I think they'll get Winnebago and Dwight at the end of the year. Stillman Valley's the one game in there that I'm looking at. I still think I would take Oregon, though, to run the table.
Yeah, I think I'm safely going to say 3-1. Either it's going to come against North Boone or Stillman Valley. So I have no doubt that Oregon gets back into the playoffs. I think they're going to finish out 3-1 and go in at 6-3.
Yep. Okay.
But to your point, if they beat North Boone, I think they'll beat Stillman Valley.
Yeah.
I think North Boone has played well, and they played a great first half against Genoa Kingston. Genoa Kingston is a sneaky good 2-3 team. So I'm going to play it safe. 3-1. Won't surprise you if they go 4-0.
Yep. What was the final score in that the Genoa or who just Genoa Kingston?
Genoa Kingston, North Boone?
Yes.
56-38.
Okay.
Is that what it was?
And it was Genoa Kingston pulling away in that one. So and then when you start looking at my question becomes the Oregon Stillman Valley game. That's where my question is at. And we're going to get into Stillman Valley in a minute here, but looking at it, I think that has Oregon played Genoa Kingston yet? No. Yes, they have. And Oregon beat them by 7. And Stillman Valley beat them by 7. So there you go. You talk about a tough matchup to pick when you look at like opponents. I'm going to say Oregon runs the table here. I think they're going to get them. So
okay.
But man, I was just trying to look at like opponents, right? And they've both played Genoa Kingston. They both won by 7. So it's really, I don't know if I got much out of that, but I just like Oregon this year.
This is the same problem we had in the Western Big Six. It's the same problem we had in the Track Rock, right?
Yeah.
You get the top 2,
Yep.
and then it gets really, really interesting the next 3, 4, 5.
Yep. Okay, so now looking at Stillman Valley, 3-2, they got Dixon, Oregon, North Boone, and Winnebago left. And Mitch, you mentioned you thought Oregon would get tripped up against North Boone or Stillman Valley. I don't know if you really pegged it down either way. So what are your thoughts on Stillman Valley here then?
I don't think they're going to get past Dixon.
Yep. You think
I think they'll beat Winnebago.
There
So
you go.
1-1.
Okay.
I'm going to sucker out, and I'm going to safely say 2-2 and not know where it comes from.
Okay.
I don't know.
All right. That's fair.
And I'll probably say the same thing about North Boone. I don't, you made the comment earlier in the show. Any given Friday night, how close these teams are clustered together, it could be one or the other.
Yeah.
And I think the way that North Boone has been playing and the way that Oregon's been playing, and the way that Stillman Valley's been playing, they've had their ebbs and flows, and so it's hard to predict this. So I think they'll go 2-2. They're going to get one of those out of Oregon and North Boone.
I'm going to say Stillman Valley here goes 2-2. I think they lose to Dixon, they lose to Oregon, they get North Boone, they get Winnebago. So they'll have to win 2 in a row at the end of their season to get to 5, but I think they do it.
Okay.
So, all right. Now we're getting into North Boone. Let's get to North Boone. They also have 3 wins. They're maybe in the wrong spot here on the standings board, but North Boone is sitting at 3-2 right now. They have Oregon left. They also have Rockford Lutheran, Stillman Valley, and Byron. So North Boone at 3-2 with Oregon, Rockford Lutheran, Stillman Valley, and Byron. What say you, Mitch, in this cluster? You can say, 2-2 where they either, the Rockford Lutheran,
exactly what I'm going to
the
do.
Oregon and the Stillman Valley are kind of question mark games, and then they're going to beat Rockford Lutheran, they're going to lose to Byron. And they get one or the other.
That's exactly.
Yep.
That's exactly what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to say they're going to go 2-2 and not sure where it happens.
I'm gonna say it's 1-3.
Okay.
I think
that probably is more realistic.
I think they get the Rockford Lutheran game, but I think they're gonna fall. I think they're gonna fall to they're only gonna get to 4 wins on the season here. So,
okay.
All right, you have Genoa Kingston, who got the big win over North Boone to get them to 2-3 right now. They have Rockford Lutheran, Byron, Rock Falls, and Dixon. So I mean, this is about as clear cut of 2-2 as you can slice it. I think.
Yeah. This is the 2-2 I feel good about. I think that they'll get past Rockford Lutheran, and then they'll get past Rock Falls. But I don't think they'll have what it takes to get to beat Byron in week 7 or Dixon in week 9.
Yeah. So I think they're going to safely, we can say, probably end up being 4-5 to end the regular season. You also have Winnebago here, 1-4. Rock Falls, Dixon, Oregon, Stillman Valley. I think they win this week to move to 2-4, but I'm not sure I see another win down the stretch.
No, I'm with you. I think they finish out 1-3, and a tough year for Winnebago, but I do also think they'll finish at 2-7 on the year.
Yeah. So there you go. There's the crystal ball for the Big Northern Conference. Like you mentioned, it's easy to get the teams up top, similar to the way it was in the Rock of the Three Rivers. But man, once you get into the middle here, similar vibes to that Orion-Erie Prophetstown game in week 7. I'm looking at that Stillman Valley North Boone game or that Stillman Valley Oregon game. I think a lot is on the line for those teams, in the next couple weeks.
This is Dan Pearson of Fellowship of Christian Athletes. Our FCA team of staff, board, and volunteers is pleased to support View from the West with Greg and Mitch. Our Northwest Illinois FCA team is 3 teams in 1, serving coaches and athletes in the Three Rivers, Northern Illinois, and Greater Peoria areas, all with schools covered by View from the West. For more information, email me at danpearson@fca.org. FCA, the heart and soul in sports.
Hey there, local high school football fans. This is Sean Considine, a Byron Tiger and Iowa Hawkeye alumni, and now an LPL financial advisor. I'm passionate about high school football because it's the purest form of the game where communities come together. You can find me in my Byron office until I run off to football practice. I'm happy to talk about football or the markets. I'll leave that up to you. I want to wish everyone across Illinois a safe, successful, and memorable high school football season.
Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA SIPC.
Hey, this is Brett Bielma, the head coach of the Fighting Illini from Prophetstown, Illinois. You're listening to the View from the West podcast.
Welcome back to the show. Let's jump into the Lincoln Land Conference. We'll start on the large side of things. Mitch, give us the scores from Friday night.
Right here on the large side of the conference, you had West Hancock getting the 18-14 win over Illini West. Chandler Dedant had 109 yards and a score for the win for West Hancock. Elmwood Brimfield defeated Bureau Valley 38-22. Lane Johnson and Miles Alger combined to rush for over 300 yards in this one. Again, a nice win for EB there. Farmington got the big win over Knoxville, 54-23. Freshman quarterback Carson Noy, 5 touchdowns in this one. Another great game from Jack Gronwald as well. You had Macomb going out of conference and defeating Breeze Mater Dei, 41-36. And South Fulton got the 49-0 win over LVC.
All right, so looking ahead at the Lincoln Land large side of things for week 6, you have Elmwood Brimfield going on the road to West Hancock. You have Illini West at Knoxville, Bureau Valley at LVC, and the big one, Farmington at Macomb. Both teams sitting at a perfect 5-0 heading into this huge showdown. So let's pull up the large side, the LLC large side crystal ball, see what lies ahead for all these teams. We'll start up top, Farmington, like we just mentioned, Macomb. Then they have Roval Williamsfield, LVC, and Bureau Valley. I think this conversation, Mitch, starts and ends with who do you think is going to win between Macomb and Farmington?
I've been so impressed with how Farmington has been able to just reload a freshman quarterback, underclassmen running backs, and they've just done nothing but dominate. Defense is playing incredibly well. This is a blockbuster of a football game this week. I believe it will be Farmington that wins. And I think Farmington will finish undefeated once again in the LLC Large and repeat as champions at 9-0.
I will say Farmington is going to win 3 more games this season, but it's not going to come this week. I think Macomb runs the table here. I think Macomb gets the job done. They run the table. They're the 9-0 division winner in the LLC large side of things. I've been really impressed. And part of it is Macomb's at home. I'm just leaning towards the home team in a big atmosphere here. And, Macomb team that seems like they're experienced playing really high-end football right now. So, all right, so there you go. I think, Mitch, would you agree that both these teams, outside of that game, that's the only question mark?
Yeah, either one of these teams will be 4-0 or 3-1. So yeah, I don't disagree with you there. Being at Macomb, that'll be on Bomber Media Network. So that'll be we'll try and shoot that link out because this should be a game that you shouldn't miss.
Yeah, Justice Keene, great job. I'm sure he'll be on the call. That'll be awesome.
Oh, yeah.
That's going to be a great game. So, all right, so there we go. Elmwood Brimfield, 3-2. Here we go again, Mitch. It's going to get a little tricky now.
Yep.
Elmwood Brimfield, 3-2. They got West Hancock, Marquette, Macomb, and Illini West left on their schedule.
Okay.
So, actually, it's interesting. We're going to see Marquette a couple times in here. They play Knoxville as well. So, what do you see out of the Trojans here? Yeah, obviously, they need to find 2 more wins at least.
Give me the quick rundown on Marquette this year.
So Marquette is 3-2 right now. They've lost to Aurora Christian, 43-22 in week 1. So they lost pretty handily. They weren't. I don't think that game was ever really close. I could be wrong, but I didn't get the sense it was ever really close. Their interesting matchup was in Edgar, Wisconsin. I believe. I don't know that if it was Edgar High School. I'm not sure what the team was. They were a defending state champion. Marquette lost on a last-second field goal, 9-6. So battled really well on the road. It was a neutral site. They both traveled 3 hours to meet in the middle. So that seems like a quality loss. Like it's a loss, but it was on the road against a team that was a defending state champion. So I think there's talent there, but I don't know that it's the same Marquette high-end talent that we've seen in years past.
Okay. I think Elmwood Brimfield finishes 3-1. I think they will beat West Hancock. I think they will get past Marquette. Don't believe they will against Macomb, and then they'll finish out with a Week 9 win against Illini West.
All right.
So I think Elmwood Brimfield would finish at 6-3.
I'm gonna. Oh man, that matchup against Illini West and the West Hancock one. So Illini West is 2-3. They lost 3 in a row. I'm gonna say they're 2-2, potentially 1-3. I don't want to give too much away here on who's who, because I'll get to it in a minute. We'll talk more about another team here in a minute, but I think 2-2 or 1-3 for Elmwood Brimfield. So Knoxville 3-2, Illini West, Macomb, Marquette, and Stark County. Again, searching for 5 wins at the very least. I'm going to say 1, 2. I think Marty Turner's not going to want to hear it. I think it could be 1-3. I'm willing for the Blue Bullets to prove me wrong, but I think it could be 1-3. Maybe
I think they get past the line.
Yeah.
I think they get past the Illini West. I don't think they get past Macomb. I don't think they get past Stark County. It's that Marquette that I just don't know about.
Yeah, Marquette matchups against Elmwood Brimfield and Knoxville is kind of a wild card because I really don't know. I don't know what to make of those games. You'll have. They'll be on the road. Knoxville will be on the road at Marquette for that one.
Okay. I'm going to play safe, say 2-2. I think they will win against Illini West, and then I'll say that they will upend Marquette.
Okay, there you go. All right. Here's the one I want to talk about, Mitch. West Hancock. They have Elmwood Brimfield, LVC, Bureau Valley, and Walther Christian.
It looks like 3-1 to me, Greg.
I might be so bold to say 4-0.
4-0. Okay.
I think it all rides on the game this week against Elmwood Brimfield. It's at West Hancock, so they're the home team. And I think you just look at coming off the win that they just got. I think they're playing good right now. Let's go. Let's say 4-0.
Okay.
I think that's the story. That's my big headline of the crystal ball right there.
Okay. I think it'll be 3-1. I think I was factoring in Elmwood Brimfield winning this game.
Yep.
But then those are 3 winnable games: LVC, Bureau Valley, and Walther Christian. So I think West Hancock does get back into the playoffs this year.
Yep. All right, and I think another interesting 2-win team here. You just saw West Hancock getting the win against Illini West, but Illini West has Knoxville, Bureau Valley, United, and Elmwood Brimfield. That's a manageable schedule the rest of the way. Can they get 3 out of that?
I see 2.
Yep.
I think it's the 2 in the middle, Bureau Valley and Monmouth United.
Yep.
I think I was factoring in Knoxville to win that, and I think I was factoring in Elmwood Brimfield to beat Illini West too. So I would say 2-2 for Illini West, and they'll just miss out on the playoffs.
I see. That was why I was making apologies to Marty Turner, because I was factoring in Illini West getting that win this week. So that's 1, 2 against Bureau Valley, 3 against United, and I think week 9 they'll already have 5 wins, but I think that becomes still a huge matchup in week 9. I don't know. Oh man. 1, 2, 3. What do I think of Elmwood Brimfield and Illini West? That becomes the question. That game, let's see. Where is it at? That'll help guide me a little bit. It is at home, or it's at Elmwood Brimfield. I'll say Elmwood Brimfield gets that win. So I have them at 3-1 the rest of the way. So
there you go.
Yeah. Like I said, I think my team here is West Hancock. I think that's the one. That's the team that carries the headlines of the crystal ball here. But all right, we'll see how it all plays out. let's get to the scores from the small side of things in the LLC. I'll pull up the scoreboard. Mitch, read it through for us. Tell us what happened.
Yeah, on the LLC small side, you had Havana defeating Rovo Williamsfield 28-0. You had Princeville getting the comeback win 21-20 over A-Town. Noah Geiger 160 yards in a score there. Anawan Weathersfield got the big win 35-14 over Rushville Industry. 465 yards for the Titans. Max Heitzer led the way with 205 yards and 3 touchdowns. Devin Orey, 149 yards in a TD. Nick Thurston, 91 yards in the score. But how about this one, Greg? Wyatt DeSplinter, 23 tackles there for the Titans in the big win. You had Stark County moving to 5-0 with a 49-22 win over United. Connor Dahm continues to have a really, really great season. 157 receiving yards and 3 scores. Added 34 yards on the ground with 2 more scores. That's a total of 5 touchdowns for Connor. Rebels are plus 15 in the turnover margin this year, with a big game coming up against Ann Arbor Weathersfield. And as mentioned, South Fulton got the win 49-0 over LVC.
Man, Wyatt DeSplinter, 23 tackles. That is insane in one game. And also 465 rushing yards for the Titans. That's pizza worthy. Offensive line pizza worthy. I will say we're trying to spread the love a little bit. So we wanted to, they've already won it. Anno and Weathersfield already won some pizzas earlier this year. So but man, I didn't want to think we were ignoring that one. I get it. That is
No, not at all.
That is a massive amount of yards. So, all right, well, let's look ahead here at week 6 and then look at the crystal ball. South Fulton at Abingdon Avon. You have Stark County at Anawan Weathersfield, Rushville Industry at Monmouth United, Roval Williamsfield at Princeville, and Havana at Westmont. So let's pull up the crystal ball for the LLC small side of things. And it's a loaded slate here, Mitch. I got a lot of teams on the board here, and we'll talk through them all. It starts with a really interesting Stark County, Anawan Weathersfield, both at 5-0. They play each other, so similar to Macomb and Farmington. I guess I start with Mitch. Who do you pick in this first game to see who gets knocked off the undefeated, tier?
I think it will be Anawan Weathersfield. I do. I've been so impressed with Stark County this year. They lost so much and had to rely on a lot of underclassmen this year. And it's been great, but we've talked about how their schedule gets a lot harder starting here in week 6. And just Anawan Weathersfield's offensive line, their talented backs, so good. I will start off by saying I think Anawan Weathersfield finishes undefeated on the year and finishes their rest of their 4 games 4-0, starting with this week against Stark County.
Yeah. So you think Anawan Weathersfield's going to run the table?
I do.
Okay. I think they win this week. I do. And so we're giving bulletin board material to the Rebels out there. I think Anawan Weathersfield gets the job done this week. What do you think about Stark County then the rest of the way?
They've got a harder, like we just said, they've got a harder back half of the schedule here. That Rushville Industry game looks really good. Princeville's been playing tough, and Knoxville's been playing better.
Yep.
I think Stark County's going to come down a little bit. I think this is a 2-2 with a potential to be 1-3 to finish out the year.
Yeah.
That Princeville game is tricky.
I think that they will yeah, I agree. I think that they're going to get one of those games either against Rushville Industry or against Princeville. They'll win one of those. Knoxville, I think they beat. I mean, I think that there's a chance that they go 3-1, or that could be 1-3. I really do think when you look at Rushville Industry and Princeville, I mean, this past week, what was the final score? A-Town just lost to Princeville by 1. 21-20?
Yeah, it's 21-20.
Yeah. So I think that, and the Rushville Industry and Princeville was a game that went into overtime, and it was Rushville Industry getting the win. So I just think Stark County's going to get one of those games. I don't know which one. A chance they get both of them, and then I think they get Knoxville. So, my whole point there being, I think Rushville Industry, Princeville, and Stark County are all very much bunched together. I think we both agree maybe Anawan Wethersfield is at the top of the conference, or we think that they will be come the end of the year. So, all right, well, we kind of just talked through them. Princeville's 4-1. They have Rova Williamsfield, Anawan Wethersfield, Stark County, and United. I think that's 2 wins in there. But then those games in the middle, Anawan Wethersfield and Stark County, is that 3-1 for the Princes?
Yeah, that'd be 3-1 for me.
Okay.
I think I was factoring in they would beat Stark County.
I'm going to go, I think Stark County gets that win. I'll come out and say it there. So I think that leaves you with 2-2 for Princeville the rest of the way for me. Rushville Industry, 3-2. They have United, Stark County, A-Town, and Havana. I don't want to get too far ahead. That Havana one intrigues me. But I think this is going to be... I think they get Stark County there. So 1, 2, 3, 4. They roll up 4-0.
I think so.
Okay.
That's what I have.
Yep.
I think Rushville Industry goes 4-0 and cruises into the playoffs at 7-2.
All right. Well, let's keep going here. I want to talk about Havana. The Ducks are 2-3. They got Westmont in a non-conference game, A-Town, South Fulton, and Rushville Industry. I think Havana's going to the playoffs. I think they'll be 5-4. I think they will lose to Rushville Industry at the end of the year, but I think they can win 3 straight right now.
Yeah, it's that A-Town matchup that trips me up here. A-Town has played tough these last couple of weeks. So you're saying 3-1?
Yeah, I think they win their next 3, and they'll lose at the end of the year.
I'm going to say 2-2 on the Ducks, and they'll just miss out on a playoff spot.
Okay, so you're saying that A-Town, is it A-Town or South Fulton?
I think A-Town will trip them up.
Okay, all right. What about South Fulton then? Let's get right into them. They're 2-3 as well. A-Town, United, Havana, and Anawan Wethersfield left. I think that last game of the regular season against Anawan Wethersfield, I think that's going to be a loss. I think they get a win over United. I'm going to say they fall to Havana because I already just kind of called it out. And that A-Town one gets really interesting for me. I think A-Town gets that win.
I think this is 1-3 for South Fulton.
Yep. I think we would agree there.
The win being over Monmouth United.
Yep. I think we would agree there. All right, 2 1-4 teams left here on the slate. You got Rova Williamsfield and you have A-Town. So, Mitch, A-Town, who we just referenced, South Fulton, Havana, Rushville Industry, Rova Williamsfield left on their schedule. They just lost a close one to Princeville. They also, if you remember in week 2, lost by 1 to Stark County. So this A-Town team is certainly, behind the 8 ball here with a 1-4 record, but it's not a bad and let's keep going. They lost by 2 to West Hancock 28-26.
Yeah.
So a pretty solid resume all the way around here for a 1-4 team.
Yeah.
I'm going to say they win this week.
I think they go 3-1.
Oh, look at
their only trip being week 8 in Rushville against Rushville Industry. I think they'll go 3-1.
Okay. See, I'm higher. I'm bigger on Havana this year.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to say that they lose that one to Havana. They lose to Rushville Industry. but I'll say 2-2 then.
Okay.
Yep. And that leaves us with Roval Williams Field 1-4, Princeville, Farmington, Anawan Weathersfield, and A-Town. I think it's just, the schedule is too stacked at the end of this year for a 1-4 team to try to climb back into it.
Yeah, it's a tough sledding this year for the Cougars. I don't see where they'll get one. Possibly against A-Town. I just don't think that'll occur. So yeah, I just don't see one here for the Cougars. And apologies to my Rover Williams Field friends out there, but it's like you said, it's the way that the schedule plays out, and it's a loaded back end, and that's just how it's going to go. But I don't know if they get one.
I will say that, Mitch, we like to be positive on the show. We like to stay upbeat. So I will say there's a chance. I think you could, if you win this week, you get a win over Princeville. You could get a win at the end of the year against A-Town. I think the problem you run into is you got to make a pretty massive upset either against Farmington or Anawan Weathersfield in the middle of the year, even to get you to 4. So I'm trying to find ways that you could make it work, but again, sitting at 1-4, I think it's hard to find a way, they can make it work with this schedule left. But like I said, I think there's a chance they could pull off an upset this week against Princeville, and they'd still have a shot against A-Town. But I think Farmington and Anawan Weathersfield in the middle, that's really tough. So,
yeah.
All right, well, there we go. There's the LLC small school side of things. Let's keep moving along here, Mitch. Let's get into the Northwest Upstate Illini. I'll pull up the scoreboard. You give us the results, and then we'll get into the crystal ball.
All right. In the NUIC, you had Stockton getting the 60-20 win over Morrison. Jack Mensendijk, 150 yards and a touchdown. Carter Blair had 104 yards and 3 touchdowns as the top-ranked Blackhawks continue to roll. Dupek with the big 38-0 win over EPC. The Rivermen score on every offensive possession they had outside of the last one where they just took a knee and ran out the clock. Dermot Dolan, Lucas Rossau, and Brady Moore all scored in this game. You had Forreston hanging on to defeat Galena 22-20. Galena scored there right at the end and could not get the 2-point conversion to fall as time expired. 5 carries and 115 yards and 2 touchdowns for Connor Polich. And Caden Loomis added 100 yards as well. You had Lena Winslow getting the 47-6 win over Fulton. Welcome back, Alex Schlichting, over 100 all-purpose yards in the first quarter alone. Over 100 all-purpose yards and 3 touchdowns alone in the first quarter. Great win for Lena Winslow. And you had Dakota defeating Rockford Lutheran 58-36. Nice win for Dakota to get their first win of the year. Brody Good had a pair of kickoff returns for touchdowns. Zeke Wales and Jaden Gordon also scored for Dakota.
How about Dakota getting the non-conference win there? That's through 5 weeks. The Northwest Upstate Illini is 5-0 in their non-conference games. So
there you go.
Very impressive, effort from this conference. I guess we shouldn't be surprised. But man, that Forreston Galena game, Kyle Kampmeyer saw a good one there on the sidelines in Forreston. What a game there, and what an effort from the Forreston Cardinals. We'll talk a little bit about them, but they're, kind of making a name for themselves here, and kind of, they're back to eyeing a playoff berth after missing out a year ago. So, great effort there. And if anyone missed it, go back, check out the Instant Reacts live from Friday night. We talked to the head coach of the Stockton Blackhawks, Sean Downey, a little bit about, their win over Morrison, but then just kind of about their season in general, how things have been rolling along for them and kind of what to expect moving forward for a really exciting season there in Stockton. And of course, with Kyle Kampmeyer on the show, you're getting all the details from what he saw and how the night played out. So, a must watch. Go back and check out the Instant Reacts podcast to get all the details on what was week 5. Looking at week 6 and then getting into the crystal ball. Stockton at Galena, Forreston at Eastland Pearl City, Lena Winslow at Morrison, Dakota at Fulton, and Byron at Dupek. So there's the slate for week 6. Let's pull up the crystal ball. Here we go. starting up top, the Dupec Rivermen, their interesting non-conference matchup here. They will be hosting Byron. So they have Byron, Forreston, Stockton, and Lee Wynn. Dupec's played really well this season, but that is a loaded stretch to end their year.
Yeah. This might be the hardest out of all the ones that we've done thus far.
I almost left you speechless there. Again.
I know. No, I do not think they'll beat Byron. I think they'll get Forreston, and then you get those last two games. We've been wondering what Dupec is made of, right? And they've just continued to prove, whether it was in the Galena game or whether it was in the EPC game, they just continue to play really well. I don't know that they get both Stockton or Lena Winslow.
Yeah.
I think they get one of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think we're just in this weird place in time where we're debating if Lee Wynn's going to lose. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say Dupec wins that game in week 9.
Okay.
So what that puts them at, is that 3-1 or 2-2 to finish out the year? I'm sorry, 2-2.
Yep. I'll agree with that, man, but it is really hard. I think it's really hard to pick against Lee Wynn, but the way that Dupec is playing football right now is just, I don't know. That should be a great matchup in week 9. I do think Stockton gets the job done in that game in week 8. The other thing to factor in is, like, you know, is Dupec going to be worn down from playing Stockton and able to bounce back against Lee Wynn, or is that where Lee Wynn jumps on him, you know? Yeah. So I think that's kind of worth tracking there. But let's talk Stockton here. They're also 5-0. So Galena, EPC, Dupec, and Forreston. I think we both agree the NUIC championship runs through that game, Stockton and Dupec in week 8.
And just based on what I had just mentioned about Dupec, I think Stockton will run the table. I think they'll finish 4-0 and they'll finish 9-0 and be the NUIC champions this year.
Yeah, I think Stockton runs the table here. I think they're playing really well. I think they go into the playoffs at 9-0. So let's talk Forreston, because that's the game we just mentioned. That's a big win for them to get that win over Galena, a Galena team that we were excited about, that has a lot of talent, you know, and it's Forreston able to get the job done. Now sitting at 4-1. Mitch, would you say kind of a quiet 4-1?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So sitting at 4-1, EPC, Dupec, Leroy, and Stockton left.
I think Leroy's having a down year.
I was just looking it up, but I believe you're correct.
I'm going to say that they get past EPC this week. I think they'll go win, lose, and they'll finish 2-2 and finish at 6-3 heading into those 1A playoffs.
Yep, I completely agree. That's exactly what I was going to say. They are on the road at Leroy, which is no easy road trip to make. Leroy is only 2-3 on the year right now. And just based on what we know about the Northwest Upstate Illini, like we just referenced, they're 5-0 in non-conference games. I'll take that bet. I'll go for that, and I would agree with you. I'd say 2-2 the rest of the way. Lena Winslow. I can't believe we've already talked 3 teams, and we're just now getting to a 4-1 Lena Winslow. Morrison, Galena, EPC, and Dupec. You think 3-1 based on what we've talked about here?
Yep, I think they'll get past Morrison, Galena, and EPC, and I think Dupec's going to win that game. I really do. So yeah, I believe Lee Wynn finishes out at 3-1, and we'll go into the 7A playoffs as the most dangerous 7-2 team we've seen in a while.
Yeah. All right. Well, speaking of dangerous teams, based on what their record may be at the end of the year, Galena sitting at 3-2 right now. They fell just short to Forreston, which I think could prove to be a really critical outcome in the NUIC, because Galena has Stockton, Lee Wynn, Dakota, and Fulton left. So I think you get wins over Dakota and Fulton to put you at 5. I think you can pencil in that they're going to lose to Stockton and Lee Win. Mitch, how good is how dangerous is a 5-4 Galena team going into the playoffs?
Is that what they were last year?
Let's see. Nope. Last year they were.
Were they 6-3?
No, you're right. They won 2 playoff games, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought we had talked about that at that point, that they were going to be dangerous. And then they had that unbelievable game against Stark County. So it could be deja vu, because I'm agree with you there. I don't think they'll get past Stockton or Lee Win, but then Dakota and Fulton, I do believe Galena will get the wins there and sneak into the playoffs there at 5-4.
Yeah. They finished last year at 7-5. So yeah, they were 5-4 going into the playoffs.
Yeah.
Yep.
There you go.
So you're again. They could do it again. I guess good call. I kind of forgot about that, but yeah, I think they'll be a dangerous 5-4 team, and I don't want to dismiss. I mean, I think that there's a chance that they could get one of these wins over Stockton or Lee Win. I don't think they'll get both of them, but don't you think that they could, if they play a great game, the ball bounces their way, they could get one of those games?
Yeah, they'll need Roman Romer to really play well, and that defense has shown that they can play well. But then, it's they lost to Forston, so I just don't.
Yeah,
I don't see
okay.
it. I just don't for Galena.
All right, I'm saying there's a chance. As Dumb and
there's always a chance. Of course, there's always a chance.
Jim Carrey would say in Dumb and Dumber, "You're telling me there's a chance."
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
EPC 3-2, Forreston, Stockton, Lee Win, and Dakota left. I think this game this week becomes really important for EPC.
Yeah. Must win?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Because with Stockton and Lee Win there in week 7 and 8, I don't see them winning that. Dakota they'll get in week 9. So yeah. And I don't know that they'll do it. I think EPC is going to finish 1-3 here. I think they're going to lose the next 3 before beating Dakota in week 9.
Yeah. Again, I will say there's a chance, right? Like against Stockton or Lee Win, I think if they play a great game, I think everything would have to go their way. There's a lot of talent on EPC. It could happen. I don't know that it's likely to happen. So I would say yes, that there's more likely that it's going to be, if the last 3, I think they'd end up at 1-2. That becomes, that critical 5th win, I think is coming right now this week. You got to get that win this week.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I just don't know if they can. I don't know if it'll come.
Yep. All right, so there you go, Mitch. There is the crystal ball for all of the 11. Take a breath. Ooh. Here we go. There is the crystal ball for every school, every 11-man school that we cover that, looking down the road, who has a shot at the playoffs and where they fit in the playoffs. I want to rack your brain, go back. What teams intrigue you out of all that we've talked about here in what's left? I'll start. I'll give you a minute to think.
Okay.
I'm going with that Wes Hancock prediction that I had. I think that their schedule sets themselves up, and the way they just came off a big win over Illini West to kind of put themselves in this position, that's the team I'm looking at that has that shot to run the table here and get back in the postseason.
Okay. I would say I might stick in the NUIC where we just were. I think it's Forreston.
Yeah.
Big game against EPC this week. Maybe can play spoiler against Dupec. I don't think they will, but they've been playing fine. And Dupec was going to be coming off of a game against Byron that they, if you can come out of that game not banged up, heck, Dupec could win that game. I don't know. But Forreston with what they were 2-7 last year.
Yeah.
And now playing the Forreston football that we're used to. I think Forreston is a team to look out for here in the next 4 weeks.
Yeah. I'm going to go back to our big schools before we wrap up, because I think another intriguing storyline to follow is where we started with this whole thing. The Western Big Six it stumps us, right? It's hard to figure out. I'm following Quincy, Geneseo, and Sterling. They all have to play each other still, and I can't wait to see how that all plays out.
I think Quincy's the biggest question mark.
Yeah.
You just lost 39-0 to Moline, and you've got UT, Sterling, and Geneseo left on the schedule. So I think they'll get back to the playoffs, but again, it's any given Friday night. That's why you line up. That's why you play these games, especially in this conference where we've got one in the driver's seat, and then after that, it's chaos. So
yeah,
this will be a fun conference to watch play out the rest of the way.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's going to be a ton of fun. Mitch, before we go, I do want to go through. We're not going to do a whole crystal ball on the 8-man ranks. I will say I will leave that to the experts of Kyle Kampmeyer and Joe Murdian. They will have it covered. Listen to their show. Comes out every Thursday. They're going to start doing their playoff predictions. And I think like the last few years, Joe Murdian has like nailed it exactly what the, playoffs are going to look like. So I will default to them, give them a show plug, but we can run through some scores here before we wrap up and look ahead at what the schedule looks like.
Yeah, sure.
All right. So you have Milledgeville got the win 68-28 over River Ridge. You had West Carroll getting the big win over Orangeville 42-0. Polo got the win over Ashton Franklin Center 52-6. And let's see, that's the look at the Northwest. Let's go over to our western side of things where you had Ridgewood. Nope, that score's not updated. I believe Ridgewood fell to Flanagan Cornell Woodland. I don't have a final score right in front of me, but they fell short in that one. It was Amboy Lamoille, Ohio getting the win over Galva 66-6. You also had Biggsville West Central getting the win 36-0 over the West Prairie Co-op. So there's some of the scores from last week around our area. Let's get into what is coming up ahead. Here we go. If I can find... Oh, I am way off. Let's see.
I'll run it down for you here in week 6.
Thank you.
You've got AFC going to River Ridge. The big one in 8-man this week, West Carroll going to Milledgeville. Orangeville at Polo. Galva at West Central. Ridgewood host Bushnell Prairie City. And Amboy Lamoille, Ohio is at Peoria Heights.
All right. So there we go. Mitch, I'm getting excited. Can I say it for like the third or fourth time this year that this is the most exciting time of the year?
Yeah. I mean, it's getting there. I why would I ever disagree with that statement? But yeah, these next, I reserve that usually for week 7.
Okay, fair enough.
When you have 3 weeks left. So I'm still trying to remember if we did this in week 6 or week 7 last year. For whatever reason, I thought we did it in week 7, but still, it's crazy that we're over halfway done in the year. We're talking about teams that are 5-0 right now that have most likely locked in a playoff spot. And these next 4 weeks, we're going to determine a lot more. So very exciting, very confusing. Things we talked about tonight are not going to happen. And that's what makes it fun. That's what makes this podcast great and, following local football great.
This podcast, I believe, sets a View from the West record with longest pauses between statements.
But that's what makes the season fun.
I
right?
know.
I mean, you really have to think about it. And in every single conference that we just talked about, there are 2 and 3 teams, and they're all playing each other in these next 4 weeks. And it's like, oh God, what do I do here?
Yeah.
But you know what? Again, that's what brings in some job security here, because it's, as much as we're trying to predict, it's very unpredictable. And how it plays out, I hope I'm wrong. And it's just, again, I said chaos earlier. I hope it's chaos everywhere, because that's what makes it fun.
Yep. I just want to say, as we go through and we make these, kind of semi predictions as we look into the crystal ball, I want to say, we hear from coaches how much they appreciate the coverage. That was really cool to hear the other night. I think multiple coaches said they thanked us on Friday Night Live on the Instant Reacts for what we do and kind of the coverage we provide. And I think across our area, Mitch, we're, like I said, we're making pseudo predictions here tonight, but we are championing every team from our area, right? I want every team to go as far as it is possible for them, regardless. I don't care which team it is. If they're teams from our area, from the conferences we cover, we want to be there to talk about them, to cheer them on as long as they can go. So if we said some things tonight that maybe you think, hey, we're going to beat that team, no doubt about it, I hope you do. And then you'll prove us wrong, and that we'll talk about you no matter how it plays out. So, yeah.
Yep, no question. Yeah, we appreciate the kind words from the coaches. We hope we're doing a service to everyone who listens and providing you with some coverage that you're maybe not getting elsewhere. So, again, we always thank you for being along for the journey. And these shows are fun. They're meant kind-heartedly, and we're just trying to look into the crystal ball a little bit. But as you mentioned, Greg, we don't live in the world where we can win at all times, and so, yeah. Good luck to everyone. Certainly, good luck to everybody here these rest of the 4 weeks, because the first half of the season was great, and we're hoping for a really great second half as well.
No doubt about it. So thank you to everyone who listens. Thank you to everyone who has already subscribed on YouTube. If you haven't done it yet, of course, go out and subscribe on YouTube. We got that goal, getting up to 750. We want to make that happen. Thank you to everyone who listens to our regular show. Thank you to everyone who listens to the Instant Reacts podcast. We'll be live again Friday night like we are every Friday, 10:15. We'll have the area coaches on from the results that we want to talk about, the results that, people are talking about, and we'll hear from the head coaches that were a part of it. That's always a ton of fun. Mitch, are you out of the loop this Friday?
I'm out.
All right.
I'm out.
All right. Well, we'll call in some suitable replacements, and Matt Randazzo, he'll maybe co-host with me. We'll get Ty Taylor, if he's available. Of course, Kyle Kampmeyer joins us every week, and Brian Stocking is getting back in the flow here, which is exciting. So
yeah,
I think it takes a lot of people to replace you, Mitch. We'll try to make it happen.
Yeah, I'll do my best. I'll be in California. I will do my best to keep some of these graphics going. I'll be way ahead of schedule. It'll be earlier out there when these games are going final. Yeah. So we'll see. But yeah, the show is in good hands. I'm not worried about that.
So what did I do wrong? Because you're going to be in California this week. My wife is in California right now as we speak, and I completely missed the boat. I'm not going to California anytime soon.
What would have been nice is had I bought the correct Reds tickets. I'm going to be out in LA anyway. I could have went to the actual game that I thought I got tickets to, but alas, I did not.
Well, have fun. Enjoy LA. If you're going to be in sunny Los Angeles, enjoy.
I'll be in the area.
Okay.
But California, I'll be in in the state. I'll be in there, right. But LA area.
All right, there you go. Well, Mitch, we'll forge ahead without you, but you'll be back ready to rock and roll for the home stretch at the end of the season. But
yeah.
All right. Once again, thanks to everyone who listens. We will talk again Friday night live for the Instant Reacts podcast. That'll do it for this week's episode of View from the West. Thank you so much for listening. I encourage you to go out to Apple Podcasts or Podbean and subscribe so you can follow along, and downloads will come automatically every week. You can follow along on Twitter at ViewFromWestPod. You can also email me if you're interested in being a sponsor, viewfromwestpod@gmail.com. Thanks so much. We'll see you next week.